kindness is a thing that opens up doors for honesty, for pursuing clarity.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that term more. I think I've heard it before, but I hear it more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that the frequency or the number is more. I hear it more.
Right.
With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoweh's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful inns for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more. Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast with Michael Thompson. And I'm here with my friend SJ. We'll be exploring the kingdom of God and all the things that He's revealing, showing and telling. I love that, show and tell. I think God is a God of show and tell, and I think we get to play in that
second graders,
kindergarten maybe. So, but before we jump into this series on kindness and strength, want to share with you a quick spot about the Heart of a Warrior Encounter that's coming up in October 5th through 8th, and let you listen to our friend Shane Ruffing. We'll be right back after this.
It was up at one of the old Top Gun events in the mountains up in Virginia, and I remember just really feeling like I was in the presence of so many men that had such a connection with God. That what's wrong with me? Why doesn't God ever talk to me? Like all these guys are talking about this great experience. All that was in my head was, God, I need to hear you. I need to hear your voice. I just need a light or something from you. And I look down in the stream. There's literally a yellow flashlight sitting in the bottom of the stream. I'm not making this up. And I sort of made this condition with myself. If I pick up that flashlight and it works, this is real. Dude, I swear, I picked up that flashlight, flipped it. It was a pelican light covered in moss. It shone a light as clear as could be. And I kind of heard, felt, experienced, I hear you, I see you, and I've got something for you. It was just amazing.
Join us at the Heart of a Warrior Encounter October 5th through 8th at Sharptop Cove in Jasper, Georgia. To find out more, head to www.zoweh.org/events.
I love that video. Love that.
If it wasn't Shane, I would have a hard time believing it. You know what I mean? It's a great story.
And, I remember when he told me, and then I remember a little while ago when we recorded that, and I'm just for listeners and for my own heart, I mean, it sounds like a commercial in some ways.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just a reminder of what's available to God to do, to work.
Man.
I just said show and tell. I mean, to have God show and tell him that so personally. I love what he says at the end. How do you come back from that?
Yeah. That's great.
And so,
you can actually watch the whole,
the
full story on the event. I think it's on the event page, zoweh.org/events.
Yeah.
But
so
if you want to watch the whole thing,
it's just his story is a good story, as is everyone's story, even though there's not necessarily good happening. And I think the condition he was in climbing that mountain, I'm going to have to tease him about brambles. Really? Were there brambles up there? It was a great word.
Briars and
brambles, man.
Yeah.
You were forging through and met God. I love it. Mm-hmm. And so, let's turn into this subject about kindness and strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been something that I feel like God's been showing and telling me, and having me in a place of, we're always in a place of learning with God as we explore more. And was talking even to a friend, Don Rosner, this morning. He was checking in. It was fun to catch up with him. also an alumni of Encounter Weekends and being getting away with God. And so Don asked me, he said, is it me, or does it just always feel like you're kind of getting knocked back into first steps? Yeah. And I thought a minute and kind of went, man, that's a great question, Don. And I said, I think it's more that we're always stepping into first steps because there's always new things. You're always in a new place.
Every time you take a step.
I mean, every year, we just celebrated Hannah's birthday the other night. My now makes her 28. And just what has happened over a year, and you think about, though, day to day, like Hannah's not been 28 before. Mm-hmm. We haven't walked with her in spaces with finances and savings and her now that she's gone through grad school. I mean, she's just in a new place.
Right? Yeah.
So to watch somebody else be there, why would you not understand that you also are in that evolution, if you will?
That's a whole other podcast.
And there's a lot of first steps.
That's a whole other podcast.
So to look at kindness and to have it in many ways kind of reclassified for me, and not that I didn't want to pursue being kind before, but taking it to a place where I really do. I want to pursue having a kind heart, being able to be kind with myself, especially the younger parts that need kindness, not criticism, not coaching, not leading, just need kindness. And so I'm learning, and have been over the last 6 or 7 months, just the applications are just massive.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pair it for this. I wanted to pair it for this podcast series with strength, because I feel like it has strength. It has power. It has an effectiveness, not to be manipulated. I'm sure like anything that's good can be manipulated or hijacked for bad.
Yeah.
And so, I think, people can pose or appear to be kind, and yet they're trying to steal your money, your passcodes,
kindness can be used.
Take something from you, know. So
kindness can be fraudulent.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. They appear to be
used.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it? A couple of months ago, we were talking about the coin that has kindness and strength on the back side of it. So we talked about it a little bit then, but what is it that has kind of resurfaced it for you? Like, is it a time with God that he just kind of brought that up again, or is it a deeper exploration this time?
Yeah, sometime in this series, I definitely want to read from King Me, where I was writing about what a good king does, what a good king is like. And in that chapter 9, earlier in the book, there's a chapter on the King of Kings, capital K King, talking about Jesus and his way. And so, all of that's kind of been in more the living room of my heart with God, and
rather than out in the garage
and the weight room. Interestingly, the weight room is right off the living room for me sometimes.
Right.
So you
get to do some push-ups.
Yeah.
You mean
and kind of exploring more about kindness and seeing, wow, it's got a list of biblical relevance.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the concordance thing, like kindness, kind, what's going on there? And, you get into dozens and dozens of passages in the New Testament.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
at least
just fascinating to start to to explore that and unravel the the goodness that's there in that space. So
yeah, I'm going to go kindly tell our team to please quiet down.
Yeah,
outside of our recording studio.
All right.
Hey, lady.
Way too loud.
It's not just you, Maggie.
Yeah, we heard Robin.
Thanks.
All
All right. I think, Serena, you leave that in because I didn't go out there like the dad.
I was yelling.
Yeah.
I can hear him, so I think we're okay.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I could hear him.
Yeah.
So then, as you've had the opportunity, it's more in the living room. I love that metaphor. I love the weight room too because you get to exercise, right? What has the meaning of kindness gotten deeper, changed somehow in the journey of exploration?
Yes.
Because what I thought of while you were saying, just as you're thinking, kindness can mean different things to different people. Mm-hmm. And you certainly can misinterpret what you think is a kind thing. I've been on that end of the relationship spectrum before, like, oh, she'll love it when I go in and completely rearrange the kitchen and make it more efficient or whatever, and then she comes home and it's like, where's all my stuff? Right. So it's an interesting journey as you interact with others, but how is the meaning of kindness changed?
So before and after.
Yeah, maybe.
Would be, I think I associated it more with niceness.
Like Fred Rogers' niceness?
Yeah, that's a good example. But even as we've talked about Fred Rogers, we've seen he would confront things in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood in kind ways.
Right.
But there's confrontation there.
Right.
I can think of three that we won't get into. That's maybe another podcast. But
maybe.
But being nice is in many ways, I think, associated with it, whatever you do, don't offend anyone. And we live in a very offensive culture for sure. But I think kindness is being able to say what needs to be said, or articulate or share how you feel. Could be in some ways, hard for somebody to hear.
Right.
But it's kind to share how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. I think there's a phrase that goes with this quite often, and we've all heard it, I'm sure, at least once. It's not what you said, right? It's how you said it.
Oh yeah, I've heard it.
So
plenty of times.
And
if I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times.
Yeah, we've had hard conversations, and I think it's kind to share what you might be carrying or feeling or aching, any of those categories with someone that actually it's about you and them. It's about them and you. It's different than you and I talking about Caleb.
Yeah.
And I may need a round of verbal processing, before we go in there, and then or before I go in there and have, can I talk to you about something?
Yeah.
Those conversations that lead with that.
Yeah, which are sometimes, the conversation even before that one. Yeah. Is for me to say, okay, are you going to go talk to Caleb about that? Do you want me to come with you?
Right.
When we're not just going to sit here and talk about him.
Yeah. And
we're going to go talk to him about it.
I think I would say this because, Sherry.
And there's nothing that we need to talk to Caleb about. Yeah. Not that I could think of.
Yeah. There's a line in there too about kindness. I think I ran into this with Sherry a few times about her saying, that doesn't feel kind. And so there's a subjective part of that that doesn't necessarily she's not accusing me of being unkind, but man, that's where what did you just say?
Yeah. I don't know how to be more kind.
Right.
Yeah, I think I've said that to her, by the way. Not a great idea.
That scheduling this appointment here, not there is not, that's not what I'm talking about. Like that's, to me, even though it could be to her, it would be unkind if you did that, like, so I don't have it all figured out yet into where and how all this fits. But I would say, yeah, there can be some things that, because they're difficult or challenging, maybe somebody feels like that's not kind. I'm really not talking about that. Like, you're taking me somewhere I don't want to go. You're unkind, or I don't want to talk about that. And if you do, you're unkind. So, there's some parameters to this that what I'm talking about is even how you handle that order or that request or that invitation. How powerful kindness is. I was talking to a friend the other day, and their marriage. Again, he feels so taken advantage of. Now we got 10 guys going, gosh, he's talking about my marriage. He feels.
I called him last week.
Yeah. He can't believe he brought that up. It could be 100 guys, or it could be 100 women, 100 wives that are talking, that are feeling, taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I think it's unkind to harbor that, because I know the enemy's deal, and he's going to try to turn any of that harbored hurt into resentment,
which turns to
and
bitterness,
closed heart,
and
a closed heart towards that.
Yes.
So kindness is a thing that opens up doors for honesty, for pursuing clarity. I've heard that term more. I think I've heard it before, but I hear it more. I mean, it's not that the frequency or the number is more. I hear it more.
Right.
When clarity is kind, to deal with expectations, to deal with hopes, and when those aren't met, to kind of kindly revisit that that space, And I'm not saying you can't get a little warm, but you want to be careful. I think kindness is, as I pursue it, has helped me with the other parts of the fruits of the Spirit. There's just pursuing kindness has made me more patient.
Joy, peace, patience, kindness, long-suffering,
goodness, faithfulness, self-control. That kind of, glues all those together. So God has been bringing me some models and examples and lessons in this, of not just from the scriptures or from different things, but even in the spaces that missionally I find myself in, moving in a direction, and then boom, here comes a provision of kindness that is that he wants me to entertain.
So I want to ask you about that, but before I ask you about that, I really want to ask you something else, which we haven't talked about, but it just landed on me because of what you just said.
Okay.
So when it comes to the fruits of the Spirit, and you said kindness has helped you with all the other ones, when you say that, does that mean, like, are you talking about being kind to yourself?
Yeah. Showing
yourself and even your younger self kindness?
Yeah. That's a great distinction, great ask of kind of some clarity there. But what I was thinking is kindness has made me more loving. Okay. Kindness can give me more joy. Kindness helps me move more in peace. So when I think about
giving, receiving, both.
Yes, experiencing either way. And the more that I am learning and then wanting to apply a level of kindness in how I relate to people. And I like what you said earlier, the question about even myself. I think all of us, whatever your personality type is, I think everybody has some critic inside.
Oh, man. I cannot not think of my mom, who's been gone over a year now. But whenever she would, she'd drop her glasses off the table. Oh, you idiot. And she'd bend over and pick them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'm not a proponent of that counseling style. Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in that case,
it's great.
You gotta cut it out. What are you doing?
And the more we grew up in the last 15, 10 years, 5 years on what you say matters. Then how you say it matters.
That's right.
And the self-talk, that some of us are subject to, I would say if it's critical, it's not of God. It's not godly. It's not, and it's definitely not God. Not that the Spirit doesn't bring correction, but He does it kindly.
That's right. That's right.
It's the kindness of God, the Scripture says, that leads us to repentance.
Yep.
Not the guilt, shame, chest poke.
Shaming rebuke.
I just heard it the other day, man. I just heard the 2x4 thing the other day, and I just kind of thought, yeah. I mean, he said the word. He said, "Yeah, God had to slap me with a 2x4. God had to." It's like, wow.
Are you sure about that? All I can think of too, whenever I hear the 2x4 thing, is you're going to feel a little pressure, Brian Regan
in his whole thing.
That's the definition of pain is pressure, right?
Pressure.
Bang. Yeah, I'm not sure God's in that business. I understand what they're trying to say, but again, it matters. How you say things matters.
It's a flavor that I'm tasting more and more and more and more, and there's an aroma to it. So I would even say, the other night was talking with Robin about some things I was feeling, and we've both been in counseling, and we both get chances to counsel some of our friends and allies. And so, man, kind questions. And even when some crazy things are being shared or coming up in me and being felt, I got permission the other day from my counselor friend to be angry about some things. And I was like, that was not allowed. That I don't know how to do that.
Right. It's been shut down for so long. Yeah. The valve is rusted.
And when it comes, and then when it does, there's no righteous anger.
Yeah,
to
it blows the valve off.
Yeah, its heads are coming off, and my way, crazy stuff. Yeah, but I think about kindness as a weapon in the kingdom, and how that lets me view things with a certain tent. That, do you remember those? You remember those old games when we were kids? Is it Milton Bradley and Hasbro?
Yeah.
So whatever games had
Parker Brothers,
who had secret codes.
Oh yeah.
And you had to put on the blue and the red lens. Oh man.
Was Password was the game? Yeah. You had to put a red thing over it. Yeah.
Games like that. I feel like kindness has kind of been in that obscure place for me. And He's been giving me some lenses to see it. And now, it's the clue.
Right.
It's the piece that I think for my development and growth on the masculine journey as a king, to become a good king, you have to have kindness. Yeah. It has to be a part of your way. And so man. I'm enjoying walking with God and having and looking for it and smelling it and wanting to feel. Like I said, Robin, the other night, I was unpacking some things and she handled my heart kindly. So very, very helpful to trusting her with another time. And so there's a lot. There's a lot in this in this series, and I'm anxious to share kind of one of the mountains that God took me to recently. About kindness. In the next episode.
Well, when you talk about how He's kind of okay. Now Scott SJ, you're gonna give this thing that I want you to give some attention. So it's kind of like I think we've said it before, it's kind of like, if I buy a white F-150, now there's white F-150s everywhere. Mm-hmm. I can't not see them all over the road, right?
For me, SJ, this subject, it's so funny to say the words kindness and strength together, or the power and strength of kindness. And so, believing that I'm on this journey to learn to become more and more like Jesus, and to start seeing his kindness as a virtue, and to see his way. Even reading the scriptures is starting to smell and taste a bit different. If those were delivered kindly, though there's conflict behind those words.
Sure.
There's even some accusations, in some of those spaces. But one of the biggest, and I look forward to talking about it in the next session as we explore more. God really snuck up on me with kind of one of those big, you can't make this shiz up, and there it was, just, Michael, you're on the right track. Now I want to do something to you through this. So we'll talk about the big, and it literally led to being, a feature in the last Harvard Warrior Encounter, because it was impacting me that much. And then what I didn't realize is God wanted to share it with a lot of other men. So we'll talk about that maybe in the next Exploring More podcast.
Sounds like a great conversation.
Kindness and Strength Part 2 coming up. So, thank you, listeners, for joining us for this one, this episode 1. And, write a review, leave comments.
Rate, review, subscribe,
all that good stuff.
All of that helps us be found, helps this message be found.
Yeah, and I would say Shane will be at the October event. So if you want to meet,
that's the rumor,
the man on the
tell him to bring
promotional piece.
Tell him to bring the flashlight.
That's right. We could display it. That'd be good. So, hey, see you next time on the Exploring More podcast. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoweh.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoweh on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoweh on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.